What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories with the start of the new year as we enter into 2025. I have a single, well maybe a few, but a single major goal that I want to accomplish and achieve throughout this year, and that is to do collaborations. Collaborate with as many content creators as I can within like the RPG horror story sphere and D&D sphere, and just, I don't know, set up some cool things to do. Also to stream. That's the one thing I wanted to do last year that I didn't get to do too much of. I only did like a few. But you know what? I need to start my VTuber Morrow arc somehow. And the only way to do that is through streams, I guess. It was kind of like a running joke, a running gag that we had in the comment section, but I feel like I really do need to like put a pep in my step and really do it. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. Player gets the power of a god, and DM allows it. I'm male 17 and have been playing D&D for the better part of 4 years now. I'm in 2 groups, but this post revolves around one person in the group I started out in. I'm going to call them Zach after one of his characters. Me and Zach started playing through a disability program. It was me, my brother, Zach, and an older guy. We actually got along at first, both getting hyped over Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which had been recently announced. The campaign we started in was a Dragon of Ice Spire Peak, but as nobody, including the DM, had experience with D&D really at all, the game rules were kind of just basically not used. We rolled d20s for anything and everything. There was really no limit to what we could roll for. We didn't really follow the plot. I believe we only took about 1 or 2 months to complete the campaign because we didn't really explore anything. If that matters, we played about once a week for 3 hours. Everybody starts different. I mean, as long as you guys are having fun, D&D can be really whatever you want it to be. Rules light, rules heavy homebrew stuff, and different editions. Like, there's so many flavors to D&D. Not even from the official stuff, but just like homebrew things as well. It's a super flexible system. But anyway, we got a group here and they're playing a bit of a rules light system. Gotta go a little bit loosey-goosey with it. So we got the basis for the story. Zach's behavior started pretty quickly in this campaign. He was playing a rogue, I was playing a fighter who was honestly more of an artificer, my brother was playing a barbarian, and the other older guy was playing a fighter. The first thing I can note is, after I had found a piglet and took it as a pet, Zach and the others decided to eat this pig, and the DM allowed it. I wasn't given a chance to stop this, but Zach revived the pig with necromancy, so I didn't make a fuss. Oh, you know, I'm gonna say something. This is just something to learn early on. As a player and the DM, it's not fun when you're doing actions that just ruin somebody else's fun. Let's say, for example, having the pig. What's wrong with player having a pig? Do you really have to go out of your way to ruin the player having this pig as a pet by eating it? I mean, I know, yeah, we got resurrected through necromancy and stuff, so I guess it kind of makes up for it. But still, actions like these are probably not okay thing to do, because if the action is specifically done to ruin the fun for somebody else, that would really be bad. That's honestly, it's not a good way to approach things, because that just the only result you're gonna get is by ruining another player's fun by eating their fictional pig pet. Now, they don't have it anymore. It'd be a whole other situation if, let's say, for example, you guys were going to a dark, dangerous dungeon, and DM said, whoa there, Buster, you probably don't want to bring your pet with you because this place is going to be dangerous, and you decide, I'll bring it anyway. You were given a safe warning, and the pig failed their athletics roll and got stuck into a trap and died. That's ultimately on you for bringing the pig alone to a dangerous place after the DM gave you a warning. But if something like this is happening and the players are just eating your pets just for haha funny, if it's done for the sake of ruining somebody else's fun, it's just not okay thing to do. He was playing rogue, but he was allowed to have some ancient grimoire that was an action item, but just let him do whatever he wanted. Another thing in this campaign worth noting was that when we encountered a Gorthok the Thunderboar, Zach used his grimoire to bring the god powering Gorthok into the material plane, stealing the god's powers. I didn't have a problem with this. You don't have a problem with this. Wait, I thought the story was about stealing powers of a god. Your friend just stole power of god and you okay with it, even though the title says you weren't okay with it, at least implying that you weren't okay with it. Oh, there's a lot of things going on. I think DM is partially responsible for it, and the players maybe a tiny little bit. DM, because they didn't stop the player, that said, yeah, okay, you could do that. I mean, obviously the player is a problem for sure. It's like, hey, I just want to have a power of god. But then everybody is a culprit. DM is like, okay, go for it, do it. And the other players didn't say anything. They're like, I'm fine with that. That's okay. You know, it's kind of a mess that you all made the bed together and you have to kind of deal with the mess, I guess. The problem came when my character created a device that would do the same thing. He broke the device and cursed my character to never be able to create that kind of device again. The DM, no rules involved, let it happen. This created a really big power difference. He now has divine power, and my character was unable to get on the same level because Zach said so, and the DM didn't argue. Ah, I see. So that's the problem here. The problem isn't that your friend has god powers, is that your friend has god powers, but you denied god powers. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to feel about it in general. I think god powers should have just been disallowed from the very beginning, saying nobody can have god powers because this is not okay. Or, I mean, have a situation where, yeah, either everybody has god powers or nobody has god powers. Otherwise, it's not really that fair. We eventually encountered the dragon. My brother had left at this point, so just me, Zach, and the older guy. The fight was pretty easy for Zach. My character was quickly encased in ice, and after the fight was over, the fighter left, and Zach unalived himself to be reincarnated or something. So it was narrated that my character just suffocated in ice. I've come to realize as well that the dragon didn't actually have the power to encase people in ice in the first place. This is a mixed bag of everything. Not only do you have a DM that basically allows you to do whatever you want, but it's also being very selective with whatever that is necessarily, and allows you to basically counter each other for no reason at all. I don't know why that's going on. And I feel like maybe it might have been better to play a more rules-specific system and for the DM to say no's to a lot of things. Like, no, you can have god powers. No, you can't self-resurrect yourself to become even more powerful. No, you can't just eat the pig just to ruin another player's fun. I feel like Zach may be a kind of person that is a little more on the antagonistic side or just wants to mock somebody or something, but that's just me reaching probably. I don't have a lot of context to go off of. I feel like the game was cooked from the start. I feel like he just, because it was rules light and because DM allowed you to do whatever, there wasn't really much of structure to it, so it was very structureless and extremely loosey-goosey. So it's not anybody's fault specifically. It's kind of like everybody's kind of evolved in one way of capacity, but I feel like the DM should have stopped it by saying, no, you can't have god powers, and just stopped it early on. I don't know. What do y'all think about this? Why you let me know down that in the comments below. I'll get to the next story for today. Ragnar DM crap talks new players who couldn't arrange the chromatic dragons in order of most to least powerful. That's it. That's the horror story. Overheard the GM bishing at the LSG about how their hastily assembled group of brand new players couldn't solve a puzzle and wasted all session on it. When pressed, he told us the puzzle, but none of the people at the counter could solve it, all TTRPG vets with combined 60+ years of experience. He sputtered and said, well, they knew it was a dragon campaign. They should have read the monster manual. Do you need to read the monster manual before you go into a campaign? You know, just asking for a friend. Especially since it's stated in the story that's a group of brand new players. If you can't do, I mean, can't you just let them do like a history check or like arcana check or some kind of check to see if they know what order to put the dragons in? Maybe give them some sort of hints or something. Do we have to mock people for not knowing about the different chromatic dragons? Like, I'll be honest, I probably can't remember every single dragon in D&D that I can. At the same time, I can't name every single like tiefling subrace from like the 2014 version of D&D. You know, Despedo tiefling, Fiona tiefling, stuff like that. But either way, yeah, this is a really weird champ moment to like make fun of your players. Huh, you don't know anything about dragons? You didn't read the monster manual before you jumped in here, beginner friendly players? Yeah, we didn't read the monster manual because we hope you didn't have to read the entire manual of monsters before coming in here, jackass. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was a requirement to know every single monster by heart. Just letting you know, in my campaign, you don't need to read the monster manual. Anyway, weird champ moment from Weird DM. Let's get to the next story for today. Player decides I'm unworthy. This is a short story from back of the day, sometime around 2005, on OpenRPG, for anybody who remembers that, which was before the days of Discord, and back when Facebook was for college students, or anybody with an EDU email address. I'd roleplayed for a number of years, but before 2003, it had been entirely online, and usually somewhat freeform. Wanted to try my hand at running my own VTM, Vampire the Masquerade game, and crafted a one-shot set in New York by Night Sourcebook. I was hoping this would also be a prelude to a possible VTM campaign. I built a coterie of 6 pre-gens and fleshed out the setting a bit more, but I assumed the coterie would decide where to take the game and not only railroad if they were indecisive. I realize now that a one-shot needs a firm linear path, and I created too much content for simple one-shot. I'd later use most of the details for somewhat short-lived VTM campaign on OpenRPG. I was able to convince 1 to 2 players I knew to join me, and then thought one of the OpenRPG forum boards I got 3 to 4 more. I made it clear, or thought I made it clear, that I would be new to running games on OpenRPG, and only had a bit of experience even playing an open RPG. This would be an entirely text-based experience, as voice chat at this point in time was a mixed bag, not the experience that people take for granted nowadays. I never heard of open RPG, but honestly I can't imagine how people play digital D&D or like TTRPGs in general, like online. I'm assuming OpenRPG was the way to do it. I take having Foundry for granted, to be able to use Foundry for granted. It is such a useful tool. Honestly, I don't think I would be getting into TTRPGs as much as I did if it wasn't for Foundry being so hecking cool. Anyway, let's continue. I hand out the pre-gens and start the game. The first issue is that none of the players seem invested in their characters or the story, so I set a scene, but it didn't really go anywhere. I decided to step in as an NPC and to try to move the ball along. Honestly, don't remember the plot at all. Think that Coterie was being offered a job by a higher up in the city to investigate a supernatural arms shipment. Some of the players seemed increasingly frustrated with the one-shot, but I wasn't prepared for what would happen next. One of the players, I'll just call Player A, Player Alex, stopped the game mid-sentence and decided to berate me openly and out of character for the quality of the game which he saw lacking. He was furious that I dared to even play, much less run a game on OpenRPG, as he expected a certain amount of quality and experience from the storytellers and DMs. He went on a rant about how I wasn't fit to run a game anywhere, much less on OpenRPG, and was disgusted that I was even on OpenRPG. His expected OpenRPG to maintain quality standards for who got to play on OpenRPG, and especially who got to run games on OpenRPG. Whoa, to call this a meltdown, just like that, like out in the open, not even in private, that's kind of a jerk thing to do. The guy's literally throwing a fit because this is not the quality that I deserve or expect for OpenRPG. How dare you run game on OpenRPG with such piss poor quality? Dude, not everybody's gonna be a professional DM, and especially like somebody's coming in new to play VTM. They're interested in being a storyteller, and they'll probably let people, I'm assuming, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you let people know that you're new and you have pre-gens just to make it a little easier. Maybe the problem was that people want to make their own characters, they didn't want pre-gens. Then maybe that could be the issue, but I hope somebody would have spoken up. But to have such a reaction to it, like such a drastic reaction like with player Alex over here, I get if you're frustrated, I get if it's not the game for you, but you always have just the option just to say, hey storyteller, I gotta go. This honestly isn't working out for me, so you guys continue without me, have fun, bye-bye. Instead of like have a whole meltdown, be like, you're the worst storyteller ever, I can't believe they allowed you to play with this quality or lack thereof. You shouldn't even be on OpenRPG because we provide such bare bones lack of quality. Yeah, it's the first game, like can you cut them a little bit of a break? Unless you let them know specifically what they should be expecting. It kind of feels a little bit strange and honestly kind of mean to force your own expectations with somebody else. Not every game is going to be up to your 100% complete standards and stuff, but if you don't like the game, just leave. Don't make a whole melodramatic thing about it. Though he did say some of the players were frustrated with the one shot, so maybe the entire table kind of felt a little bit frustrated. Maybe there could have been some things that could have been tightened up, but you can always give feedback in a better way than just screaming at somebody, you shouldn't even be on this platform. You know, stuff like that. It's completely unnecessary in my opinion. He went down into details, complaining that I was both railroading and not railroading enough, that I wasn't precise in my in-character, out-of-character conversation standards. OpenRPG had guides about various conventions while running games on OpenRPG, but they were fairly loose and not enforced. Started to have an anxiety attack. Thankfully, this was over text and not voice. It was also apparent that 2 to 3 other players were his posse, my words, and would be leaving with him. They'd all joined my game apparently to see if I measured up to those standards, and the standards of OpenRPG. So this guy with his gaggle of goons basically came over. I can't use the word goons anymore. The internet has ruined my brain. The internet has ruined it. This guy and his gaggle of bullies basically came over to test the standards of a game instead of playing a game. That doesn't sound like somebody you want to have at the table. If they come in to test the standards and test the boundaries, they're not here to have fun. They're here to see how good or bad a storyteller you are, and then to berate you whenever it comes to that whole thing. Honestly, I feel like they came in here with already a predisposition of, let's tear this new storyteller a new one and say how bad they are whenever we see how bad they are. Honestly, I feel like this kind of people coming in to spot the negatives instead of trying to enjoy a a TTRPG game. I don't know who the hell in right mind spends hours, spends their time trying to see if they can judge others. It's completely, entirely unnecessary. It's a waste of time. And these guys are losers for this kind of thing. Absolute clowns. The criticisms even don't make sense. You're not railroading us. You're railroading us too much. Pick your lane, dude. Holy hell. Make up your mind between, do you prefer more railroading or less railroading? Make sense of what you're trying to say. Think about the things you want to criticize about before you open your mouth and type nonsense into the chat. I get you there's some constructive feedback that could have given to the storyteller or the 2OP. For sure. Yeah, it's the first time trying it. The first time running it. They definitely don't have like everything figured out yet. They just want to play a game, want to try running, get experience. You can give constructive criticism without making it not make sense. You can't say you're railroading us too much and also not enough railroading at the same time. These guys aren't coming in to give somebody constructive criticism to get better. These guys are coming in to be bully clowns. That's all they're doing. I was incredibly upset and just ended the game right then and there. I explained that I was new to storytelling and that slightly softened Alex's words. He said he didn't realize that, but it was still no excuse for such poor storytelling and that I still had business ever running a game on OpenRPG, but that, in his infinite wisdom, I was slightly worthy at least playing in OpenRPG, but never in any of his games or any games he was also a player in. Wow, can't believe you got permission from dickhead Alex over here. You can stay in open RPGs, but only as a player, but never in my games or any games that I'm a player or storyteller in. It's also the kind of thing the guy says like, I didn't know you're a new player or new to this, but it's still not an excuse. They knew, they don't know 100% how to run it. They don't have the experience for it. Have you ever tried DMing or storytelling or just running a game for players for the very first time? There's nobody out there in the world that just goes like, I am just perfect DM storyteller ever. I never make mistakes ever at all. That's what a liar says. That's what liars say to try to make themselves feel better. Later on, I got told by others that player Alex had a reputation for doing this and doing so frequently, but that the actual moderators administrators of OpenRPG refused to boot him because he was one of the primary GMs on a platform that sorely needed to keep its most active players and GMs happy. I spun off the one-shot into a campaign that ran for about a year or so, had its own problems, but it was a good stepping stone for me. So they can't kick this idiot Alex guy because he was one of the best GMs ever. Well, I wonder what's actually happening with OpenRPG. I wonder where it is now. Let's see, actually. Wow, I honestly did not want to know what to expect. I finally went up to the OpenRPG website, and the website took forever to load. But even then, it looks like something from 2005, and apparently it's going to be going down. People are told to like download the files and use like a different software application. I think it's like a freeware application to like run open RPG games. I don't know if OP feels karmic justice from this, but I mean, I would if I was screwed over like that. We can't kick this guy because he's our best GM ever. He's the most active one ever. But it doesn't really matter if the guy's just a dickbag and just impossible to go with. His little hobby as a GM for open RPGs is to go to other people's games and say, you were so bad. You're not up to the standards of open RPG. That's a little his hobby. That's how he spends his free time, joining other people's games with his little gaggle of clown bullies and basically be like, you were so bad, you shouldn't even be in open RPGs, you were terrible and not up to the standards. Wow, this guy sounds absolutely like a pleasant ray of sunshine. Honestly, I don't know anything about open RPG. Maybe it was good, but I say karmic justice at this point. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.